So that's when I told him, forget about it.
Stay tuned for a message from our sponsors. Are you tired of a planet that's too crowded? Streets jammed with traffic, pedestrians crowding public squares, mud and dirt everywhere, holiday shoppers crowding the streets, or trains packed to the brim? Well, there's good news. From DABCO, makers of Tiny Cat and Puny Car, comes Planet Me, the first one-person planet with just enough room for what you want and none of what you don't. All right, that's enough silliness. Hey guys, it's Mr. B. So today what we're going to do is talk about how to make your own panoramic planet. So this is my final one here, and just to explain kind of what the idea is, you're going to make your own little planet. We're going to use collage by cutting and pasting images of places that are important to you or places that you like to go. They can be real or they can be fictional. I'm going to kind of show you mine and kind of explain the places that I chose, and then we'll talk about how to do yours to make it look like this, where it's a tiny planet floating in space with just the places you like on it. So to start, what you're going to need to do is in Office 365, I've saved a file called Grass, and it's a PSD file. You're going to need to download that first. That's the first thing you need to do, because what I have on that file for you basically is just the grass that you see here. So what I did was just found a panoramic image that was free to use and not copyrighted, and deleted everything above the grass and tree line. That gives you a base to start with. From there, what you need to do is find your places. So we're going to have you find, or I'd like you to find at least eight different locations, 8 different buildings that you can use to make your photo collage that you're going to turn into a little planet. Now, obviously, I've already done that here. Just remember, the best way to cut and paste things when you want to be precise is to use the pen tool. If you have something that's fairly simple, you can try using the magic wand, like you may have done during the Altered Masterpiece or book cover projects. But for the most part, I think the pen tool is really your best bet here. I'll open one of the other ones that I did just to show you. All right, let's see. So shocking. Mr. Benris, the Harry Potter nerd, did Hogwarts, but here's Hogwarts Castle. And you can see what I did was use the pen tool to make this path and traced around the outside of the building. And then if you remember, once you have the building selected, right-click in the Paths tab here, choose Make Selection. Now make sure, in this case, it selected everything except the castle. And if that happens, just press Control Shift I, and that will invert the selection and select just the castle. Once that's done, make sure you're on your background layer in the Layers window. And if you press Control J, that's going to copy the castle to a new layer, or your building, obviously, to a new layer. And then you can just click and drag that layer and drop it onto your grass background. Now, I already have Hogwarts in here. I'm not gonna put 2 of them, but that's pretty much how to do it. So once you have your 8 buildings kind of dropped into the grass background, the key here is you want to make sure they're all behind the grass. Doing that will ensure that you can kind of layer them. It doesn't need to look perfect right now. The key is to just fit your buildings in there. Now, one trick you're going to want to do to make sure that this works properly is your end building, whatever's going to be on the very end of the panorama. In my case, it was Wrigley Field, so let me get my 2 pieces of Wrigley back up here. Let's see, it's going to be this one and this one. Now, this part's where it's going to get kind of tricky, so I'll do my best to explain it well. So I have 2 Wrigley Fields here, and they're duplicates. So once I put Wrigley in, I immediately made a copy of it. It doesn't matter whether you do the left one or the right one. In this case, I'm going to do the left Wrigley. And there's a little anchor point in the center of the photo, and when it gets to the end of the screen, it's going to snap, and you'll kind of see it happen. It'll snap right to the end of the screen in the exact center of the shape, and I want that. I'm going to take my other duplicate and I'm going to bring it to the right side of my project and wait for it to snap. So now what that tells me is that they're both exactly halfway off the end, and the filter that we put on it to make it round like this, like a little planet, is going to bring it, basically bend the whole picture into a circle. And if you have them halfway off the end of the screen, you can make it so that that building that's going off the end ends up kind of being the glue here, and makes it all kind of one seamless row of buildings. So I know that I'm halfway off horizontally right now. I need to make sure that both of these are in the same position vertically. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm gonna do the right hand one, but what I need to do is make sure it's the same height up and down as the one on the left. So if you select the left hand half of the building here on this side and press Control T, if you remember we did this for the lettermorphosis, it's going to bring up these coordinates up at the top, and I can see that my Y coordinate is 786 pixels. So to make sure that the other one is in the same position, vertically, I need to select it in the layers window, press Control T, and then I need to make sure that it's also set to 786 pixels. And what that's going to do, I just click anything in the toolbox and press Apply. What that's going to do is make sure that they're at the exact same height, and then when we apply the filter, that they'll wrap together. So I'm going to re-show all of my buildings here. So I have some buildings from Chicago. I have Wrigley Field. This is the Illini Union, which is a building in Champaign where I went to college. I have Hogwarts Castle. I have Mount Werner, where I like to go snowboarding in Colorado. I have another building from Mount Werner back here, the Willis Tower. That'll always be the Sears Tower to me. And then a castle from a video game that I play that's also in the background. So what I need to do now that I have everything kind of all in one place is I need to merge all my layers. So you can see I have everything set over here in my layers window. And to merge down, it will merge or basically smash all my layers together. So I'm going to press Control E, and that merges the top two layers together. And I'm just going to keep pressing Control E until everything is on a single layer. So now I have everything on one layer. I can hide it all or expose it all. The next thing I need to do is go to Image and Image Size. Now normally when you resize an image, it keeps the proportions so that it doesn't end up looking all weird and stretched out. In this case, we want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck the Constrain Proportions box. And then I'm going to put in my height to be the same as the width. So if you're using the grass background that I gave you, you're going to make it 3,256 by 3,256 pixels. And I'm going to hit OK. So it's going to make it a complete square, but that's okay. That's what we want. And it's going to stretch all of your buildings out. You can see they're much taller than they should be. Once that's done, I need to go to Image, Rotate Canvas, and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees so that it's upside down. Hopefully you're still with me. The next step, after flipping the world over, is I'm going to go to Filter, and then I want to go to Distort, and I'm going to choose Polar Coordinates. And just make sure Rectangular to Polar is selected here, and hit OK. Oh, I forgot one important thing. Glad I screwed that up. So one thing you also have to make sure you do, if you click the Move tool, you can see that I have parts that extend beyond the boundaries of the square. I can't necessarily see them right now, but I know the other half of Wrigley Field is off the end on both sides. I also know some of the grass is going off the bottom of the page. What we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen, because it'll screw up our planetizing, is to use the marquee tool to select the entire picture. And then I'm going to go to Image and Crop. And that's going to delete everything that's outside of this square. All right, so back to what we did before. I rotated 180 degrees, and then I'm going to do Filter and Polar Coordinates. And so now I have my tiny planet.